What it do, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm so excited to be redoing this video, and this is my top 5 bronzers of all time. Now, if you know anything about my channel or me, you know that your girl is obsessed slightly with everything beauty, everything makeup, but more importantly and specifically bronzer. This is the category that at the beginning I used to do bronzer hunts twice a year. You could not find a bronzer that was released at Sephora or Ulta that I had not picked up and tried out and featured. I loved everything about bronzers, and I still do. I've definitely slowed down because I have these 5 favorites and it takes a lot to really beat them. Now, they're favorites for me for a variety of different reasons. I have thought about different skin tones, different undertones, and then also of course different preferences when it comes to formulation. I think that I have quite a range here, and if there is anybody who is looking for a bronzer, whether it's for the first time or a new one to add into your collection, I'm not going to sit here and say these are original and these are ones that you've never thought about, but these are the bronzers that I would recommend you to look into first before you kind of vary off into a wider range of bronzers that are available. So I hope this video is super helpful for you guys. Like I said, this is the second time I'm filming her, but I made a mistake before and we had to redo. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so I do have B-roll. So the B-roll will become available, as the video is shown. So just stay tuned for that. And let's dive into the one that should have never been forgotten. She shouldn't have been forgotten, but she was in the wrong spot. And it had been a while since I played with her because she's just so special. And this is my Pat McGrath bronzer. Now, say what you will about this bronzer, price, packaging, the quantity, whatever, this is a beautiful bronzer. I have mine in the specific shade Burnished Honey. One thing you will find about me is pretty much all of my favorite bronzers, color-wise, and of course formulations, have some form of yellow undertoned bronzer available. That is the undertone of choice for me as of couple of years now, and I've stuck into it, and it's really made my bronzer level and the application just skyrocket. I find that yellow really works for my undertone. It just blends in beautifully, and it's not as stark as those redder undertones or those more orangey type undertones. I've gone on a tangent. The Pat McGrath bronzer is a matte formulation. I would say it is a very finely milled formula. It does appear to give you a matte appearance. It's not a very kind of opaque formula, but when you can pick it up, you do have to have the right brush. I would say this doesn't really pick up on every brush the same. I prefer natural hair brushes when I want to use this product. But what I would say is that this really continues to envelop the more natural skin base that I personally prefer. So that is why I love this bronzer. Like I said, it is very finely milled. It is a thinner formula. It's not going to be super opaque like the next powder that I will be talking about. But between the actual application, the finished product when using this, but also the undertone, this had to make it on my top 5. And the fact that it didn't previously was my bad. It was truly my bad. It should have, but yeah, I made it work with the other one, but this is the real one. This is the real tea. Then we have kind of a transition. This is a powder product, but this is a baked gelée product. So it does kind of nicely transition into the cream products that I'll be talking about today. And that is the Haus Labs Deep Level 11 powder bronzer. This is currently in my project pan, and it's in there because I know I'd get a lot of use out of it, and I was already actively reaching for it. That's pretty much how I did my project pan this year. Any products that I knew I would actively reach for, or I was already actively reaching for, they made it into the project pan. Now this product, like I said, is baked gelée, which basically means that it is a gel formulated product that is poured directly into the pan, and it just gives a different texture and appearance when applied. Both of these powders really give a nice kind of skin-like finish. I would say this is more matte than skin-like, but it's close. It's not a stark matte. This gives pretty much like a skin-like to satin type finish, where it looks effortless. It looks like it's part of your skin. If you're wearing foundation or without, it just really works beautifully. Like I said, this is deep level 11. Absolutely love this. This has been a favorite since the first time I tried it, and it will continue to be a favorite. This is definitely something that I will always have in my collection, and I just want to make that blanket statement in general. All of these products will always be in my collection, whether it's like at the end of the product or I'm getting a new product right now. These are my 5. If I had to repurchase all of my bronzers, these are the 5 that I would pick up, and I probably wouldn't pick up any others, but because I have them, I keep them. But these are the 5 that I would definitely always have in my collection one way or another. Going into the first cream, and this is going to be from ABH or Anastasia Beverly Hills, and this is their cream in hazelnut. Now, this was the kind of gateway bronzer, if you will, when it came to a yellow undertoned product, and ever since I tried this product, I have absolutely loved this. Once again, this is in my project pan, and we're getting close on both of the project pan products. We're getting close to hitting pan, but I won't mind when I hit pan because it's just a beloved product. This works beautifully with a sponge or a brush. It has, like I said, that yellow based undertone. It is quite pigmented, but along with the pigmentation, it is blendable. So if you apply too much, don't worry. Just get whatever the product or the application method that you applied your foundation, if you applied foundation, and just blend it out that way. If you didn't and you applied concealer, you can go with that route. If you didn't, once again, then I would really blend to your fullest content. I definitely think you need some form of base product, whether foundation or concealer, to blend this product out if you put too much on. But that's just my personal opinion. Continuing on though, this is a really beautiful product. It's an easily accessible product. All of these are easily accessible, and for the length of time that I've had this and for the amount of uses that I've had this, it is extremely worth the money. Once again, all of these pretty much hit those last 2 points. They're worth the money because of the amount of times that I've used them, and I've loved them. Now, if you like the concept of cream, but you don't want to have to kind of dig into a puck like this, I have 2 recommendations for you. The first one is the most kind of well-loved, if you will, when it comes to stick cream formulas, and that is the Rare Beauty Stick Bronzer. Now, I consider this the preferred undertone for me. I think when I was looking on Sephora, when I originally pinned or was doing the description on this video originally, they said this was a cooler undertone. To me, I find that this has a yellow based undertone. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the formula or the color that I would recommend, and that is On the Horizon. This formula is beautiful. It is pigmented, but not overly pigmented. It is easily blendable, and it has a thickness to it that when you do go to blend it, it kind of will sit in the spot for a little bit. I'm not saying that it's stuck in the spot, but you definitely have to work it through if you really want it to blend for a long period of time. Whereas the last cream bronzer that I would recommend, you really don't have to put any elbow grease in it at all. It will just blend. It will just blend until your heart is content. So that one, I need to kind of give that recommendation. But anyways, for this one, I think that it's really a nice stick formula for all skin tones, whether you're extremely light or extremely dark in your skin tone, like your pigment. But this is a really good formula. I absolutely love this. This is one that's in my top drawer right now, not particularly in the project pan, but I can easily see this making its way into the project pan soon because it's a formula that I absolutely adore. Rounding out this range and this collection, like I said, top 5 of all time, the ones that I would reach for, period, if I had to redo my makeup collection. And you know, this is making me think I might kind of do a massive declutter. We'll see how it works. And this is LYS's Cream Stick Bronzer. I absolutely love this formula. I think this formula is fantastic and I would highly recommend it. This is a great formula if you are of a darker skin tone, or if you're somebody who likes a bam amount of pigment at one time and you don't really want to layer it up. I would say sometimes I find that I have to do maybe 2 layers of bronzer to get the amount of pigment and the placement that I want. With this one, I have to do the smallest amount and it will blend and still be extremely pigmented in all ranges and places that I applied this. This is a very easy application and it's extremely creamy, and once you hit it in the spot, it's nice. It's a nice little point. I think the point really works, or the shape, the triangle shape really works with application because of how the placement I like to put my bronzer. So it's really nice. But like I said, this is extremely pigmented. If you are of a fairer skin tone, this is something that I would caution you on. I've seen a lot of people who have a fairer skin tone that say that this is too much pigment and they can't blend it out the way they want, and they recommend the Rare. So take their advice, and I would say go for the Rare if you are of an extremely fair skin tone. Otherwise, if you like a lot of pigment, I definitely would recommend the LYS. That said, it is blendable and it is opaque and all of that jazz, but I just would say with a smaller amount of product, it goes a longer way compared to the Rare, where it's kind of a normal amount of product. It goes the normal amount of way. Is that making any sense? I don't know. But those are the top 5 bronzers of all time that I would recommend. I absolutely love all of those bronzers, and I truly, after doing this video, I really want to consider whether I need the other bronzers in my collection, because do I? But there is one honorable mention that I do want to go ahead and voice out, and I'm putting this as an honorable mention because it is a product that I get a lot of use out of in my personal day-to-day application, whether it's for YouTube or in general. It's something that I do get use out of, but I don't want to necessarily recommend it. Let me explain. This is the Wayne Goss Bronzer Duo, and this is in the shade Deep Copper. Now, if memory serves me correctly, when I was linking this video originally, this actual shade was no longer available at Beautylish. So if that is the case, that's why I have the links the way they are, but everything else will be linked down below because I know everything else is available. I think, I don't really remember, but back to the product. I found that although this is a finely milled formulation, really nicely finely milled, and they do have 2 different undertones here, one that's warmer, one that is cooler. I found that the issue here is that it's not extremely deeper than my skin tone. But because of the way that I apply bronzer, where I do cream bronzer and then powder bronzer, this works because it's more or less setting the cream bronzer, if that makes sense. So I will go ahead and reach for the warmer tone here. And the cooler tone, this is where I find that like it deserves its honorable mention place, because it has another shade that I actually use as well. And I used it today in an application where I felt like the stark difference between my blush application and my powder for my under eyes was just too stark. And so what I'll do is I'll take a brush and just lightly apply that cooler bronzer in that middle zone, and it blends it beautifully. And now it just looks like a normal kind of elevation or gradient, if you will, between the 2 pigmented sections of makeup, pigment color, whatever you want to call it. And this is a formula, or this is a technique that I found from Khaki, and her channel is Khaki Loves Reviews, I want to say. I will have her link down below. But this is why this deserves the honorable mention category. Although other bronzers in my collection are really nice, whether they're beautifully finely milled or they even apply more pigmented on my skin tone, that one I actually find that I'm using in my everyday life, not only as an actual bronzer, but also as a powder as well. So those are all of the products that I wanted to talk about in today's video. If you love this video, I would love it if you give it a huge thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, I would love it if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And do not worry, if you're interested in seeing me do this type of video for all of the other categories of makeup, it is coming soon. It is coming soon. I'm hopeful to do this for literally every category of makeup, maybe even high-end and drugstore, and we'll kind of mix in, of course, India as well. Let me know the different variations that you would like to see this particular type of video. I have so many different formulas and products available at my disposal, and I would love to be a resource for you guys. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.